Please like this video. I really need your support right now. It's the only way this story can reach more people. Thank you so much for being here with me and for your support. Lauren showed up almost an hour late to our anniversary, and she didn't come alone. I was standing on the Chicago waterfront overlook with the skyline laid out like a postcard, a string quartet warming up behind me, a photographer checking his lens, and a picnic spread I'd built like it was a mission. I had an album in my hand, thick pages, clean leather cover, the kind of thing you don't buy unless you actually mean it. Then I saw her heels click across the stone, and right beside her, Madison, coworker, friend, whatever label made Lauren feel more important that week. Madison's eyes did that quick scan, the view, the musicians, the blanket me. Like she walked into a show and wanted to know if the tickets were worth it. Lauren didn't even look at the setup. She looked down at her phone like it was the only relationship she actually respected. I should have known right there what kind of night it was going to be. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have saved myself 2 weeks of planning and a whole lot of dignity. The quartet shifted into position. The photographer gave me a small nod like, "Whenever you're ready." Lauren finally lifted her head. No smile. No wow. Not even a fake one. She rolled her eyes, exhaled loud, and said, right there, in front of Madison, in front of strangers strolling past, "Oh my God, not this. Not again." I didn't flinch. I just waited, because part of me still believed there was a normal explanation. Stress. A bad day. Anything. She tilted her head like she was dealing with a stubborn customer. Then she raised her voice, just enough to carry. "Stop trying so hard. It looks pathetic. Do you have any idea how exhausting this is?" The word wasn't just an insult. It was a stamp, something she wanted other people to see. Madison gave a tight little laugh, like she'd been invited to join a club. Lauren waved a hand at the picnic and the music, like she was brushing lint off her sleeve. "Explain it to him," she told Madison. "Normal couples don't do desperate stuff like this." The photographer froze. The quartet stopped mid-breath. 2 women nearby slowed down, pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. Lauren looked at me like I'd finally been put in my place. That's what she wanted. A public correction. A little stage where she could be superior and I could be the guy who tries too much. Madison shrugged, half smiling. "I mean," she started, like she was choosing her words carefully. "It's a lot." Lauren leaned into it, satisfied. She didn't just want to hurt me. She wanted a witness. I looked at Lauren, then at Madison, then at the skyline. Then I nodded once. "You're right," I told Lauren calm. "I'll stop." Lauren blinked, like she expected volume. Tears. Bargaining. The usual performance. Instead, I turned to the photographer first. "Hey," I said, reaching into my wallet. "Sorry for the awkward start. You still get paid." He hesitated. "Man, you don't have to." "I do." I cut in, firm but polite, handing him more than we'd agreed on. "Thanks for showing up." He took it slowly, like he was handling something fragile. I walked to the quartet. "Appreciate you guys," I said, dropping a tip into the open case. "You can pack up." One of them glanced at Lauren, then back at me. "Everything okay?" I gave him a small smile. "I'm great. Enjoy the rest of your night." I folded the blanket with clean, deliberate motions. Packed the food, closed the album, and tucked it under my arm like it belonged to me, because it did. Lauren finally found her voice. "Wait, what are you doing?" she snapped. I didn't look at her phone. I didn't look at her face. I looked at the steps leading down from the overlook. "Stopping," I replied, like I was answering a simple question. Madison stepped back, suddenly uncomfortable. The fun wasn't fun anymore. Lauren followed me a few steps, heels tapping faster now. "You're being dramatic," she hissed. I paused at the edge of the walkway and glanced back, just enough to make the moment clear. "Dramatic is bringing an audience to humiliate your husband," I told her. "I'm just leaving." Her eyes flashed. "So you're going to punish me?" I let out a quiet, almost amused breath. "No," I said. "I'm going to respect what you just told me." Then I walked away with the album under my arm and the city lights behind me, and I didn't turn around again. The drive home was quiet. Not sad quiet. Clean quiet. Like a room after someone finally stops talking. When I got home, I didn't slam doors. I didn't throw anything. I didn't send a long text explaining my feelings like some teenager begging to be understood. I took action. First thing, I pulled the photo frames off the hallway wall. The ones from our trips, the smiling versions of us that looked good from a distance. I didn't destroy them. I didn't rage. I just removed them and put them in a storage bin. Next, the little notes Lauren left around the house. Don't forget my dry cleaning. Call the plumber. Dinner with Jenna Thursday. I collected them like they were old receipts and dropped them into a drawer. Then I opened my calendar. My calendar was basically a second marriage to Lauren's life. Her work events, her friend birthdays, her family stuff, her remind me tasks that somehow always became my job. Delete, delete, delete. I wasn't doing it to be petty. I was doing it because something clicked on that overlook. She wanted the benefits of my effort without the public cost of looking like she owed me respect. Fine. No more effort. No more service. I went to bed early, alone, and slept like a man who didn't need permission to breathe. Lauren came home later than usual. I heard the front door, heard her shoes, heard her pause like she expected me to be waiting in the living room, ready to fight. She walked into the kitchen and found me rinsing a mug. Her tone went soft fast. "Hey," she said, like she was testing the temperature. "Can we talk about earlier?" I dried my hands and leaned against the counter. "Sure," I replied. "Say what you need to say." She stepped closer, hands up like she was calming an animal. "I had a horrible day," she said. Everything was stacking up. Madison was with me because we were already together, and I didn't think. "You did think." I cut in, not raised voice, just accuracy. "You brought her on purpose." Her jaw tightened. "That's not fair." I nodded once. "Okay." She waited for more. For an argument. For me to start defending myself. I didn't. Lauren tried a different angle. "I'm sorry," she said. "I shouldn't have said those things. I felt pressured." I glanced at her phone in her hand. "Pressured by what?" "People seeing your husband treating you well." She scoffed, annoyed that the apology didn't buy her back control. "You're twisting it." "No," I replied. "I'm hearing it." She stared at me, then changed her voice again, sweet, careful. "Are you seriously going to hold this against me?" I shrugged. "I'm not holding anything. I'm adjusting." Her eyes narrowed. "Adjusting how?" "You'll notice," I said. And I meant it. The next morning, I got up, showered, and made coffee. One mug. Lauren padded into the kitchen in her robe, hair messy, expecting the usual routine. Her special coffee, the exact creamer, the exact mug, the little spoon on the saucer like I was running a cafe. She stared at my mug, then at the empty counter. She blinked like the house had betrayed her. "Aren't you making mine?" she asked. I took a sip. "Coffee's in the pot. Everything you need is on the counter." Her face tightened. "So that's what this is." I set the mug down gently. "This is me not doing things that look pathetic." She laughed, sharp, fake. "Oh my God," she said. "You're really doing this." I raised an eyebrow. "Doing what?" "Being cold," she snapped. I pointed at my mug like it was evidence. "Cold would be pretending you didn't say what you said. I'm just not auditioning anymore." She slammed a cabinet door. There it was. The first test. The first, let's see if he'll break. I didn't. I grabbed my keys. "I'm heading out." She watched me like she was waiting for the part where I turned around, kissed her forehead, told her I loved her, reassured her. Instead, I opened the door. "You're not going to say have a good day?" she threw at me. I paused, hand on the knob, and looked back. "Good luck," I answered plain. Not cruel, not warm, just reality. I went back to my routine like I'd never left it. Early gym, clean meals, work with my head clear. I stopped rushing home, stopped checking in, stopped orbiting her moods. And Lauren noticed, because women like Lauren don't miss a shift in power. They feel it like a draft in a room. A few days later, she tried to provoke me with small things. She walked past my office doorway while I was on a call and muttered, just loud enough for me to hear, "Some husbands actually like their wives." I kept my eyes on my screen, finished the call. Then I stood up and met her gaze. "Do you want to say something directly?" I asked. She crossed her arms. "I'm saying you're acting like a roommate." I nodded. "Roommates don't get humiliated on a river walk to impress your coworker." Her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't like that I kept bringing it back to the facts. She switched tactics. That weekend, her car started making a grinding sound. Normally, that would be my job. I'd look at it, diagnose it, schedule something, handle it. I'm handy. I'm organized. I'm the guy who makes life smooth. Lauren stood in the garage doorway, keys dangling, voice suddenly light. "Babe," she said, like we were fine. "Can you take a look?" "It's making that noise again." I wiped my hands on a rag and kept my tone even. Schedule a service appointment, I replied. Her smile dropped. Seriously? Seriously. She stepped forward. You know I hate dealing with that stuff. I leaned against the workbench. Then learn. You're smart. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. This is petty, she said. I tilted my head. Petty would be sabotaging your car. I'm not doing that. I'm just not fixing problems for someone who doesn't respect me. That landed. Not because it was emotional, because it was clean. She turned away, muttering under her breath, slamming the door again like she wanted noise to create guilt. I went back to what I was doing, calm. That night, she tried the first version of her soft reset. She cooked. Lauren didn't cook much. She could, technically, but she treated dinner like something that happened to her, not something she did. So when I walked into the kitchen and smelled real food, not a reheated bowl, not a half-hearted salad, I knew it wasn't about dinner. She had candles out. Not romantic candles. Look at me trying candles. She smiled too hard. Dinner's almost ready, she said. I thought we could have a nice night. I looked at the table, then at her. Okay, I said. Her shoulders relaxed like she'd just won a round. She poured me a drink, sparkling water, which was fine, but she did it like it was a grand gesture. She sat across from me and watched my face while I ate, waiting for the moment I'd soften. So, she said, voice sweet. Are we good? I put my fork down. Define good. She blinked. You know what I mean. No, I replied. I don't. Last week you called my effort pathetic in public. Now you made chicken and lit candles. What are we doing here? Her smile twitched. I'm trying. You're trying for a result, I corrected. That's different. Her tone sharpened fast. You can't just punish me forever. I leaned back. I'm not punishing you. I'm living differently. You're being impossible, she snapped. I stood up, picked up my plate, and carried it to the sink. Good dinner, I said, neutral. Thanks. She sat there, stunned, because she'd expected the candles to erase the fact that she'd tried to brand me as pathetic in front of strangers. As I walked toward my office, she called out, louder now. So what? You're just going to keep acting like you're better than me. I stopped at my door and looked back. I'm not better, I replied. I'm just not available for disrespect. And I closed the door. A week later, she escalated. She didn't go straight to screaming. Lauren was smarter than that. She went to the thing she thought would make me react. Competition. One afternoon she walked in while I was tightening a bolt on a shelf in the garage, phone in hand, eyes bright with that forced casual. Funny thing, she said. Someone at work told me I look really good lately. I didn't look up. Okay. She waited. Nothing. She tried again. And Madison said her husband actually plans trips without being asked. I tightened the bolt. Good for him. Lauren's nostrils flared. You're not even curious who it was? She pressed. I stood up, wiped my hands, and faced her. Curious about what? I asked. Who complimented you? I assume adults do that sometimes. Her mouth tightened. You used to care. I nodded. I used to chase. That's when she started the late nights. Not every night. Just enough to send a message. I'll be home late, she'd say. Work thing. Okay, I'd answer. No questions. No suspicion. No performance. And that drove her insane, because her whole system relied on me proving I was still plugged in. The first real crack came 2 weeks after the anniversary, on someone else's turf. My friend Mark runs a small training group. Nothing fancy, just a few guys who lift early and keep each other accountable. Mark's the type of man who says less than he knows. Married, solid, not easily impressed. He'd invited me to a Saturday morning session in a private gym space he helps manage. Not a brand name place, just a clean facility with steel and sweat and no nonsense. I showed up at 6 a.m., did my work, and afterward Mark handed me a bottle of water. You look lighter, he said. Less noise, I replied. He nodded like he understood exactly what that meant. Then my phone buzzed. Lauren. I didn't answer. Not because of some game. Because I was busy. A minute later it buzzed again. Then again. Finally, Mark lifted an eyebrow. You good, he asked. I glanced at the screen. My wife's upset that the sun rose without her approval. Mark snorted, brief. Call her back when you're done, he said. Or don't. Up to you. Right then, Lauren walked in. I actually thought my brain misfired for a second. This gym wasn't public like that. You don't just wander in unless you know where you're going. Lauren came in wearing athletic clothes that looked chosen for attention, not for movement. And there was Madison again, trailing behind her like a loyal accessory. Lauren spotted me, then looked around at the guys, like she was confirming she had an audience. Mark's jaw tightened. "This a surprise?" he asked quietly. "Yeah," I replied. "For me too." Lauren walked right up, smile pasted on. "Hey," she said, too bright. "I thought I'd join you, since you've been so into yourself lately." Madison laughed under her breath. Mark stepped forward, calm but firm. "Can I help you?" he asked. Lauren gave him a fake friendly look. "I'm his wife." Mark nodded once. "Cool. This is a private session. You need an invite." Lauren's smile faltered. "I'm not staying long. I just wanted to see what's more important than your marriage." There it was. The trap. Say the wrong thing, and I'm the bad guy. React, and she wins. I didn't give her either. I pulled my towel off my shoulder and folded it slowly. "Lauren," I said, steady, "you don't show up at my things. Not like this." She widened her eyes like she was innocent. "Not like what?" "Not with a sidekick," I replied, glancing at Madison. "Not for a scene." Madison lifted her chin. "I'm just here to support her." Mark looked at Madison like she was a fly on his windshield. "Support her somewhere else," he said. Lauren's face went tight. "Wow. So now your friends are against me too." I shrugged. "They're not against you. They just have standards." Lauren's cheeks flushed. "You're embarrassing me." I almost smiled at that. "You mean like the waterfront?" I asked. Mark took a step closer to me, not aggressive, just present. A quiet witness. Lauren realized she wasn't in control of the room, so she went for the kill. She held up her phone and said, loud enough for the guys to hear, "I've been keeping notes, by the way, about how you've been acting, because you're not going to twist this into you being some hero." She started reading off her screen like she was presenting a case. Emotionally unavailable. Intentionally withholding affection. Silent treatment. Manipulative behavior. I cut her off with a small laugh. Not cruel, just disbelief. "You came to a gym at 6 in the morning with Madison to read bullet points about me," I said. "Do you hear yourself?" Lauren's eyes flashed. "You're hurting me on purpose." Mark exhaled slow. "Lady," he said, voice low, "this is not the place." Lauren snapped at him. "Stay out of it." Mark didn't move. No. That single word hit harder than a whole argument. Lauren looked back at me, realizing she was losing. I didn't raise my voice. I just made a decision. I picked up my bag and slung it over my shoulder. "Mark," I said, "I'm heading out." "Appreciate you." Mark nodded. "You're welcome anytime." Lauren's eyebrows lifted like she'd expected me to plead for my marriage in front of my friends. Instead, I looked her dead in the face. "You don't get access to my life when you disrespect me," I told her. "You gave that up." Her mouth opened. "So that's it. You're just cutting me off." "I'm cutting off the version of me you like," I replied. "The one who keeps you comfortable while you keep him small." Madison shifted, uncomfortable again, because she didn't sign up to watch Lauren lose. Lauren's voice went sharp. "You think you're so strong now." I nodded once. "I think I'm done being convenient." And I walked out, leaving her standing there in a room full of men who weren't impressed by her performance. That was the kill turn for her. Not because she did something physical or dramatic. Because she showed me the truth with receipts in her phone. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She was trying to reframe me as the problem so she could keep control without accountability. She didn't want a husband. She wanted a service plan. When we got home, the atmosphere was different. Not tense like a fight. Tense like a negotiation where one side finally has leverage. Lauren paced while I sat at the kitchen table with a glass of water. No alcohol, no romance, no softness. Just two adults in a house. She started with the accusation. "You've been punishing me for almost 2 months," she said, like she was reading it from memory now. "You've been cold. You're doing it to hurt me." I looked at her calm. "Define punishing." She blinked. "What? Give me a definition," I replied. "What does that word mean in real terms?" She huffed. "You know what it means." "No," I said. "I don't. Because I'm not doing anything to you. I'm just not doing things for you." Lauren threw her hands up. "You're withholding." I leaned forward slightly. "Withholding what?" "Coffee. Surprises? Being your personal assistant? Where's the line?" She stared, frustrated. "Stop playing dumb," she snapped. "You were supposed to just tone it down, not turn into this." I nodded slowly. So you wanted me to care quietly, in a way nobody sees, in a way you can enjoy without having to match it." Her eyes flickered. That tiny moment where she realized she'd been understood. She tried to recover. "That's not what I said. It's what you showed," I replied. You didn't hate the effort. You hated being compared to it. Lauren's jaw tightened. I don't owe you a performance. I gave her a small, tired smile. Then don't ask for one. She stepped closer, voice softer, almost pleading. I just want us back, she said. I want normal. Normal, I repeated. Where I do everything and you roll your eyes when anyone notices? She flinched. I stood up and walked to the counter, keeping my voice steady. Let me ask you something simple, I said. When was the last time you did something for me, just because it would make my day easier? Not because you wanted something. Not because you were smoothing things over. Just because you cared. Lauren opened her mouth. Closed it. I waited. Nothing. She tried to dodge. I do things, she said. I'm here, aren't I? I nodded. So your contribution is presence. That's not fair, she snapped. It's accurate, I replied. Lauren's voice rose. You're acting like I'm some villain. I shook my head once. No, I'm acting like a man who finally heard you clearly. She stared at me, breathing hard, trying to find the angle that used to work. Then she went for the second illusion of change. Bigger, flashier, more intense. 2 days later, she texted me in the middle of work. I made reservations tonight. Our first date restaurant. Be ready at 7. No question. No respect for my schedule. Just a command dressed up as romance. I got home at 6:30 and found her dressed up, smiling like she'd already won. There, she said, spinning slightly. See? I can do effort too. I set my keys down and looked at her. I have a plan tonight, I replied. Her smile faltered. What plan? Gym, I said. Then I'm meeting Mark and a couple guys after. Her eyes widened. You're canceling on me? I didn't agree, I corrected. You planned without asking if I was available. Her voice sharpened. I'm trying to fix this. No, I said calm. You're trying to reset it. She stepped closer, eyes glossy. So you're really going to choose your friends over your wife? I gave her a flat look. You chose Madison over your husband on our anniversary. Don't lecture me about priorities. Lauren's face flushed. That was different. Everything's different when it's you, I replied. She swallowed, then tried to switch to warmth again. Okay, she said softly. Then a weekend. I booked a trip. Lake Michigan. The place we went early in our marriage. Just us. I already packed. I stared at her for a second, because it was almost impressive how she copied my old playbook without understanding the point of it. You already packed, I repeated. Yes, she said, hopeful. We'll reconnect. No phones. Fresh start. I shook my head. I have training Saturday morning, I told her. Sunday, I'm hiking with Mark's group. You planned a trip without asking. Move it or go alone. Lauren's face went blank like a screen going dark. You can't be serious, she whispered. I'm serious, I replied. This is what it looks like when you don't control the calendar anymore. She stared at me like I'd become someone else. In a way, I had. That night, her sister showed up. Sarah from Milwaukee. Older than Lauren, sharper tongue, more grounded. The kind of woman who doesn't smile unless she means it. I was in the garage adjusting a shelf when I heard the door from the house open and 2 sets of footsteps. Sarah walked in first, hands in her jacket pockets. Hey, she said. Lauren followed behind, arms crossed like she'd brought backup. Sarah looked around the garage, then at me. Lauren says you're having issues, she started. I kept working calm. We're not having issues. I changed my behavior based on feedback. Lauren scoffed. Listen to him. Sarah held up a hand at her. Let me talk. Lauren's mouth snapped shut. Sarah turned back to me. Okay, what happened? I set the tool down and faced her. Anniversary, I said. Chicago waterfront. I planned a night. She showed up late with Madison. Humiliated me in public. Called my effort pathetic. Invited Madison to pile on. Sarah's eyes shifted to Lauren. You did that. Lauren rolled her eyes. I was stressed. Sarah didn't laugh. That's not stress. That's disrespect. Lauren's face tightened. Sarah cut her off. No, you don't get to Sarah me. You dragged me here. Lauren's eyes flashed. He's been cold ever since. Sarah looked at me. Cold how? I shrugged. I stopped running her life. I handle my schedule. I make my coffee. I don't jump when she snaps. Sarah nodded slowly, then looked at Lauren again. So you embarrassed him in public, Sarah said. And now you're upset he stopped treating you like a queen. Lauren's voice rose. You're supposed to be on my side. Sarah sighed. I'm on the side of reality. Lauren glared at me like this was my fault too. Sarah stepped closer to me, voice lower. What do you want? She asked. I answered honestly. I want respect, I said. Not performances. Not panic romance. Not a trip she booked like a command. Real reciprocity. Sarah nodded once, then turned to Lauren. You hear that? She asked. He's not asking for magic. He's asking for you to act like you actually like him. Lauren's eyes got glossy. She hated that. She hated being seen. Sarah grabbed her keys. I'm leaving, she said to Lauren. Don't call me to referee something you caused. Lauren's jaw dropped. Seriously? Sarah paused at the door and looked back. Lauren, she said, you wanted him to care quietly so you could stay comfortable loudly. Doesn't work anymore. Then she walked out, leaving Lauren in the garage with me and the sound of her own breathing. That was the moment Lauren finally understood the danger. She couldn't spin this into me being the problem if other adults had witnessed the facts. She tried one last angle. A week later, she came to me calmer than usual, phone in hand, notes ready again. She sat across from me at the kitchen table like we were in a meeting. I need clarity, she said, because I can't live like this. I nodded. Great. Clarity is easy. She swallowed. Are you going to keep doing this until I break? I leaned back. No. I'm going to keep doing this until I'm respected. She stared. So what? I have to prove myself. I shrugged. You wanted to prove I was pathetic. Now you can prove you're capable of being a partner. Her eyes flashed. You're making me sound terrible. You did that yourself, I replied. Lauren's voice tightened. Fine. What do you want me to do? I held up a hand. Realistic list. Not a show. Not one big dinner and a weekend trip. Day-to-day respect. She nodded, stiff. Like what? Start with this, I said. No more public disrespect. No more bringing other people into our marriage to score points. No more acting like my effort is embarrassing. Lauren looked down at her phone, then back up. And if I do that, she asked. Then we build something new, I replied. Because the old version is dead. Her lips parted. Dead? I nodded. It died on that overlook. She sat back, eyes wide, like she'd finally heard the sentence she'd been avoiding. I continued, steady. You have until New Year's, I told her. Not as a threat, as a timeline. Either you learn consistent, real reciprocity, without tactics, without tests, or we both admit this isn't a marriage. It's a service arrangement. Lauren stared at me like she wanted to argue, but her usual weapons were dull now. She tried one last emotional push. So you're just going to walk away after 7 years? She whispered. I looked at her, calm, almost tired. I'm already walking, I replied. I'm just giving you a chance to catch up, if you actually want to. Her eyes narrowed. And if I can't? I stood up and picked up my mug. Then you'll still be fine, I said. You're strong, remember? You told me I was exhausting. She flinched like the words finally had weight. I turned to leave the kitchen, then paused at the doorway and looked back. One more thing, I added. Madison doesn't come into my life again. Not my gym. Not my plans. Not my marriage. If you need a witness to speak to your husband, you already lost him. Lauren sat there silent, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't have a move. New Year's came and went. And here's the part people always ask about. Did she change? She tried. In bursts. In waves. Like a person trying to fix a leak with towels instead of turning off the water. A couple decent weeks. Then a slip. Then another grand gesture. Then another attempt to corner me with guilt. But the respect never became consistent. It never became normal. So I made the adult move. I separated our space without drama. I moved into a place of my own in the city, clean, simple mine. I kept my schedule, kept my routines, kept my peace. And Lauren? She lost the thing she'd been protecting the whole time. Control, comfort, status. It turns out it's hard to look like the one in charge when the man you were trying to shrink just calmly exits the room and never comes back into the old script. A few months later, my life looked better than it had in years. I was stronger, not just in the gym, in my head, in my choices. My place stayed quiet. Not lonely quiet, stable quiet. Friends came by. Mark and the guys pulled me into hikes, dinners, actual conversation. People who don't need to win every interaction. And yeah, there's a woman in my life now. Not a rebound, not a trophy. A grown woman who speaks with respect like it's normal, because for her it is. We take it slow. No games. No audiences. Last I heard, Lauren was still trying to tell people her story like she was the wronged one. Still collecting notes. Still trying to perform control after the real control was gone. But that's her problem now. Mine ended on a Chicago overlook, with a leather photo album under my arm and one clean sentence in my mouth. You're right. I'll stop.